Hi, everyone, and welcome to the intermediate stage of extinction. This is where things start to really kick off. So, we've got our laissez faire leisure class, the antisocial annihilation committee of scoundrels, and all the rest of us dirtbags unsuccessfully fighting for our lives. Of course, all these classes operate on a macro nationwide scale, a meso community scale, and then we have the micro family, workplace, friend group, etc. scale. So, we all know what's going on the macro scale, but that's over. We're done. We're toast. That's been settled long ago, and we are simply collateral damage, dust in the wind. Vote? Well, you'd have more of an impact killing yourself. Protest? Well, they'll do the job for you. So, on a community scale, I've recently come across this in a way that I can take out all of my political, social, what have you, impotence. So we got this roving band of drug dealers on bikes that set up literal shop right outside my apartment building, in between our dumpsters, which is a perfect place for their operation, let's be honest. They openly smoke crack. They leave their crusted hypodermic needles all over the sidewalk. And they sell to people in my neighborhood. But more importantly, the people in my very building. Oh, yeah. 4 a.m. on Friday morning, my upstairs neighbor, all hopped up on amphetamines, decided to hammer through his floor, my ceiling. Yeah, the while blasting a Kevin Hart special. Now, while this was soundtracked by Kevin Hart, I don't want anyone taking it out on Kevin, okay? I personally love the guy. I don't know much about his comedy. I've seen like a few of his movies. But he I I know his cuisine. I know his cuisine. I know him very well culinarily, and I dig his taste. I used to love this restaurant that he had on Hollywood and Highland Heart House. And I'm really pretty devastated it didn't work out. I thought Kevin was doing great things for the community. In fact, I became a little bit of a mascot, a little bit of a local mascot to the place. I'm sorry if that ruined things for you, Kevin, but I'm sorry it didn't work out, dude. And the thing is, it's like all the best to Kevin Hart going forward. Um, I don't want anyone taking this out on Kevin Hart when we should be directing our rage to the roving band of shit kickers in my neighborhood. So to give you a little bit of a backstory on these guys, they literally one of their favorite pastimes is literally shitting and pissing in front of everyone. Now this is not out of any sort of necessity, mind you, but out of deep and utter spite. And the thing is like they'll grab your attention just so that you watch. Okay? They'll make sure to lock eyes with you with a goddamn smirk, all the while rock hard knowing you can't look away. They come into my building, they pry open the mailboxes, they light things on fire, they smash their windows, whip out their dicks, make direct threats, and chase children for sport while they flee for their lives in terror. Now, if they wanted jobs, they'd probably be a perfect fit for ICE. But when you live in a city like mine, this just becomes such normal behavior, it's almost routine. I mean, I've completely given up on the any idea of safety. Okay, I have just accepted that I'm likely gonna die at the hands of a sick person that lives in no known reality. The thing is though, is that I do mostly like my neighbors. I think we for the most part live together really peacefully. Of course, it's like you gotta just ignore the very like you know, pronounced idiosyncrasies of poor culture and sort of just numb yourself to it and just kind of accept annoyances because there's bigger fish to fry. of course, those reigning terror on our very community, making this place somewhat, if not completely, unlivable. So here's my idea. Those that do are enabled by those that do nothing. The place you live shouldn't be tyrannized by those that get a kick out of lowering the standard of an entire zip code. So we banded together. It's last night my neighbor knocks on the door. Through the door, he's like, "Hey man, ever thrown a Molotov cocktail?" I'm like, "Hold on, wait a second. Let me just shut off my Shark Attack videos here. Pull on some pants, fling open the door." I'm like, "Dude, who we getting? What are we doing? It doesn't, you know what? It doesn't even matter. I'm just so excited. Let's do it, dude." Um, but this is where when I had to stop him because he's like, "You know what? You know who I'm getting? We're getting the bike drug dealers. We're getting the tent." And I'm like, "All right, dude. You know what? I'm loving where your head and your heart is at. I really do, really do, really appreciate it." But the thing is that is a tent likely procured. Uh, let's just say these guys are not concerned with buying and procuring a tent that's like up to like flame retardant regulations of any sort. So it's like that thing is just gonna light up, and our new house is gonna be the big house, brother. All right, I'm not going upstate for murder for this. But you know what I have been thinking a lot about is that butterfly knife you got. Allegedly, of course, he has this thing because I don't think they're strictly legal in any way, shape, or form. So allegedly, he has this thing. And in a court of law, I've never seen a butterfly knife in my life. I don't know what that looks like. And I certainly never learned to use one via video chat from a man who runs a Bigfoot center in Mount Shasta. Never happened, never would happen. And now that we've gotten that out of the way, we allegedly slashed a hole right through their tent, like Jason fucking Voorhees. Allegedly, I stuck my face through it and said, "Tell your friends." And allegedly, we giggled all the way back to our apartment building. Oh my God, and it fucking worked. Let me tell you, it fucking worked. Those guys weren't out the next day. They were out that night, man. They packed up their shit and they got the fuck out of Dodge. Because they were like, these people? I mean, we're crackheads. These people are truly sick and disturbed. Allegedly, of course. So the two I have for you tonight captures us at this very crossroads. Humanity at our very best, and also at our very worst. So I got for you Zack Snyder's Justice League. Oh yeah, the Snyder Cut, baby, that came out in 2021, with Smoking Causes Coughing that came out in 2022. Now I'm a huge Snyder head, okay? And I think the whole bro phenomenon is exceptionally anti-populist, all right? I hate it. Oh, film bros. Oh, Bernie bros. Oh, Snyder bros. Oh, comedy bros. What these idiots can broify, they fucking will. Because underneath it all, they simply disdain people. They like people in theory. They like the insular echo chamber that they built around themselves. But interacting with regular average people is seemingly an unforgivable nuisance to them. Because people are much more vibrant and less one note than they had in mind. They have lives and ideas and opinions that conflict with these visions that they have built up in their heads. And a true populist, you hope for the best, but you accept the very worst. And a lot of people, they actually embody both. And I think this is where anyone who isn't completely brain dead can agree. However, you can go a few different ways with solutions to society's ills. In Justice League, we got Darkseid and we got the League. Now we know the League is comprised of our heroes, which Zack Snyder does an exceptional job mythologizing, even eroticizing our heroes, which is essential to building myths. And before you and embarrass yourself in front of me and Zack Snyder, go back and reread your Greek myths before you act like dumb bitches, okay? Um, but we have our heroes who represent these great equalizers in a world that pits the common man against exceptional odds. And then we have Darkseid, who is the sickest fucking villain who's ever existed, okay? And he's authoritarian. And while many people read Batman as a fascist, he's more of a pure shogun with really like no interest in being like, a true head of power, but appointing himself militaristic ruler of chaos nonetheless. All superheroes, with few exceptions, operate in whatever way they think, best achieves egalitarian order without solidifying this with political ties. So they may be adjacent to the whole ideology, but Darkseid believes wholeheartedly in complete autocracy. So from Darkseid's, from his mindset, he's thinking, all right, superheroes, all right? They're idiots. They believe in hope, goodwill, freedom, but he sees the aptly named dark side of these ideals. For hope can be crushed into hopelessness. Goodwill can be manipulated and taken advantage of. Freedom and free will can lead to subjugation and repression. From his side of things, this all kind of just cancels itself out. Anything outside of himself is all really just inconvenient and pretty fucking pointless to Darkseid. He's DC's much cooler, much darker, much more draconian counterpart to Thanos. A plane of pure suffering formed him into a god in the true sense of their mythologized existence. Humans are a futile means to an end. With the anti life equation, he could have absolute control over all sentience. Darkseid wants to be the only absolute. He's nothingness incarnate. And because humans embody the ideals of existence, he knows they also harbor the opposite. The solution, of course, to the anti life equation. Now, Zack Snyder, he isn't so much about representing humanity at their best, but at their most real. Delving deeply into the backstories of our heroes lets us know they're all united by grief and pain, which they transmute into the antithesis of these things. People confused about how evil rises neglect to understand it's actually pretty simple. Idealizing a subjective form of exceptionalism and destroying anything that is not it is reactionary and requires little to no intellect. But it mines something very real. Mussolini, he made the trains run on time. And I think anyone who takes public transportation in Los Angeles probably knows that our city would elect him, even outside of election year, illegally with 100% of the vote. I mean, honestly, he could just seize power and we'd be like, you know what? I'm not waiting 35 minutes for a bus that never comes, or have like a bus driver that pulls over without any explanation whatsoever for 55 minutes and then pretends like he can't hear us when everyone's like, hey man, what's the delay about? Or simply, can we just get off the bus? But the Justice League shows us two versions. One where our heroes fight back, and an apocalyptic version of what giving in looks like. The fight, just like in my neighborhood, can be won with a united front. Others' bravery inspires hope. The battles are hard fought and never exactly finished, but Zack Snyder's not interested in gods. Perfection is offensive, and that's what people misunderstand about him. But what I think makes him really great, he gives a fucking shit. He cares about what he's making and indulges and trusts his insights. And he's made the only superhero movie anyone still talks about. He has a style and a voice of an auteur in a genre that is entirely authorless. His sense of action, the battle where we meet Darkseid, is some of the coolest shit ever put to screen. And it may be cringe to say this, but epic in a super lunar way. The Snyder Cut captures an ecstatic vibe in the same way Herzog captures an ecstatic truth. He doesn't need to capture DC scripture to give us a spiritual experience of how we feel reading these books. It isn't about remaining loyal to roles, but capturing the heart of what those stories represent. And he understands that a hero is only courageous because they get a choice. Of course, we expect them to make the right decisions when it comes to their designated designs, but what makes them compelling is what they have to fight within themselves to get there. And what adds stakes is that others chose different. It's not that our heroes are exceptionally pure hearted, but what comes across most potent in their choices. Character built, it's built in how we approach our challenges. We might not always get it right, but we're trying. And that spirit, what gives Snyder his iconoclastic stature, is the very same. Now, Smoking Causes Coughing takes the superhero genre to its most illogical conclusion. I don't want to give too much away about the film because I do really think going in cold is the way to do it. And so I highly recommend don't watch a trailer, don't read anything about it. I will try to tread as lightly as I can while satiating your interest. Now, I've talked about Quentin Dupieux before when I did a double with Mandibles, a delightfully and exceptionally cute romp with a giant fly. Oh, we are huge fans of Dominique in this household. We love our grotesqueries. But anyone who doesn't fall in love with that fly is a sick, perverted freak who deserves to live in prison. I do think I also mentioned Deerskin, which I'm still trying to find a double for because I really love that one too. But his movies are difficult to put into words. I find it even more difficult, to be completely honest with you, to sing the praises of a Frenchman. Because as I also discussed in my Mandibles video, I really have a pure distaste for the French and their culture. But Quentin, man, he's my guy. So from the very beginning of Smoking Causes Coughing, you think it's going to be some bizarre international Power Rangers with some kid and his family, watching in Oz they're doused in the blood of the Tobacco Force's arch nemesis. But then comes in a true Meet the Feebles aspect, and we got this glamping retreat for more team unity, and storytelling that's going to leave you never guessing where this goes and how it's structured. Capturing the absurdity and stupidity of Mandibles with the extreme violent and alienating aspects of Deerskin. Honestly, I think it's a pretty great starting point if you've never seen one of his films. But there's really nothing else to compare it to. But it does have a very similar vibe and unpredictability to the very excellent TV show The Curse. If you haven't seen that one, do yourself a favor, check it out. But Smoking Causes Coughing delivers us the opposite of what the Justice League and Zack Snyder stand for. It's one that's going to stick with you, but ultimately means nothing at all. Now I'm in love with this one, and I can't stop. I can't stop myself from talking up Deb here. But if you're looking for something off the wall, off-putting, and offensive to any sensibility, well, look no further, my friends. This one is a real treat. So what do we do? What can we do? Do we have free will in a philosophical or political sense? I'm sorry to Zack Snyder, but I, for one, I've given up hope. All we can do now is watch movies and die. Darkseid is